When people talk about violence in human history, religion is often blamed first. Wars, persecutions, terrorism, crusades, riots, many of them seem to carry a religious label. From a distance, it can appear as if belief itself is the problem, as if faith naturally leads people toward conflict. But when we look deeper, the truth becomes far more complicated, uncomfortable, and human. Violence did not begin with religion. Long before organized belief systems existed, humans fought over land, resources, survival, and power. Archaeological evidence shows violent deaths tens of thousands of years old, from a time when religion, as we understand it today, did not yet exist. Conflict is not something religion invented. It is something humanity already carried. Religion entered history as a way to explain the unknown, create moral order, and give meaning to suffering. In its earliest forms, belief systems were deeply tied to survival, seasons, food, fertility, death. Over time, these beliefs became organized, written, and institutionalized, and that is where the story begins to change. Religion, when combined with political power, becomes something else entirely. Belief alone rarely causes mass violence. Authority does. When rulers, kings, empires, or states align themselves with a religious identity, belief becomes a tool, a banner, a justification, not because the faith demands violence, but because power demands loyalty. History shows this pattern again and again. Political leaders use religious language to unite people, define enemies, and frame conflicts as moral wars rather than human ones. Once a conflict is labeled sacred, compromise becomes betrayal, violence becomes duty, and ordinary people are convinced they are defending truth, not committing harm. But this does not mean religion itself teaches violence. When we examine the core texts of major religions, Christianity, Islam, Judaism, Buddhism, Hinduism, we find moral teachings centered on restraint, compassion, justice, and self-control. Even passages that describe conflict are often contextual, tied to specific historical moments rather than universal commands. What often gets ignored is that violent interpretations usually appear during times of fear, humiliation, or instability. When societies feel threatened, economically, culturally, or politically, extreme interpretations grow louder. Religion becomes a way to protect identity when everything else feels uncertain. This is why the same religion can inspire peace in one era and violence in another. The belief did not change, the circumstances did. Humans project their fears and ambitions onto whatever authority feels strongest at the time. Another uncomfortable truth is that religion is blamed for violence even when the root causes are clearly political or economic. Land disputes, colonialism, occupation, resource control, and power struggles are often reframed as religious conflicts because it simplifies the story. It creates us versus them. It hides responsibility. The 20th century offers an important lesson. Some of the deadliest regimes in history were openly anti-religious. Nazi Germany manipulated religious identity but was driven by racial ideology. Stalin's Soviet Union rejected religion entirely and still killed millions. Mao's China did the same. These were not religious wars, yet the violence surpassed many conflicts labeled as holy. This forces us to confront a difficult question. If religion disappears, does violence disappear with it? History suggests no. Violence adapts. It finds new justifications: nationalism, ideology, race, economics. Religion is not the engine. It is sometimes the language. But this does not mean religion is innocent either. Belief is powerful. It shapes identity deeply. When leaders distort it, when communities are taught that God hates the same people they hate, belief becomes fuel, not because faith demands it, but because humans obey what they believe is divine. The real issue is interpretation. Texts do not act on their own. People do. Two individuals can read the same scripture and walk away with opposite conclusions, one toward forgiveness, another toward violence. The difference lies not in the words, but in the heart that reads them. Religion also creates strong group identity. This can be beautiful: community, belonging, shared values. But when identity hardens, outsiders become threats. Dehumanization begins quietly. Violence rarely starts with weapons. It starts with language, with stories that justify harm. At the same time, religion has also been one of the strongest forces resisting violence. Religious leaders have led peace movements, opposed slavery, challenged empires, and protected the weak. Faith has inspired non-violence just as strongly as it has been misused to excuse brutality. So, does religion cause violence? The honest answer is no, and sometimes yes, but not in the way people think. Religion does not create violent instincts. Humans already possess them. Religion can either restrain those instincts or amplify them, depending on who controls the narrative. Violence happens when belief becomes identity, identity becomes weaponized, and power demands obedience. Remove any one of those elements, and violence weakens. Remove power from belief, and faith becomes personal. Remove fear from identity, and difference becomes tolerable. The uncomfortable truth is this: blaming religion for violence allows humanity to avoid blaming itself. It shifts responsibility onto ideas instead of actions. It ignores the deeper causes: fear, greed, trauma, power, and historical wounds that go unhealed. Religion does not pull the trigger. People do. Religion does not swing the sword. People do. Faith does not hate on its own. Humans teach it how. And until humanity learns to confront its own capacity for cruelty honestly, violence will always find something to hide behind, whether it's religion, ideology, or progress itself. In the end, the question is not whether religion causes violence. The real question is whether humans are willing to take responsibility for how they use what they believe.